Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF 44 coming at you in another video. All right, so I think I'll do a therapy session. I know it's going to be a lot of great stuff to talk about today because we had the NBA draft last night. We had the verses, even though I'm not really talking too much about it. I thought it was pretty funny. I watched the first half of it, or really not the first half because it was 4 hours long. I saw a good hour of it, and I intend to check out the rest of it. Whole lot of laughs looking at those R&B dudes go back and forth with the tension that they had, and listening to grown men sing songs that were made to be sung by 14, 15-year-old girls. It's just really amusing. For me personally, just because that's like my era, I'm pretty much their little bros. I'm not gonna say I'm their age, but I'm like right underneath those guys. Actually, you know what? Nah, that's not even true. I'm their age. I'm more or less their age. But I didn't really connect to the music at the time. When they were coming out with a lot of that stuff from that era, I was just not really into music that much. I mean, I was into music, that's a lie, but I didn't like the era that music was being played. But it was a lot of great moments that came from that era, a lot of great, stars that came from that era. And it's just kind of good to see how they're doing grown, and just seeing where they at. Omarion, Sammy, and Mario, and all those guys. But see, the thing about it is, Mario's instrument is sharp, man. He hasn't really stopped being at that level. People are listening to Omarion's voice. I haven't gotten that far to see Omarion Mario ain't came out yet, but Mario's instrument is already special. And then you couple that with the fact that he's been doing music at a very, very, very consistent pace since his days of being, at the top of his game. He never really stopped, even with the, doing the show. Board, well, I can't think of the name of that show, man. The one that Jussie was a part of. Um, but like when he was doing that show, you could clearly see that his instrument was still strong. His singing voice hadn't gone anywhere. You know what I mean? And so when I look at Omarion, I look at some of these other guys. I'm like, a lot of those guys, they were fantastic dancers, studio artists. A lot of them, some of them had great voices, but they were dancers, and they were performers, and it's one of those situations where they came with a whole kit and caboodle. There's a difference between that and going up against a guy like Mario, who has a special instrument. Like they probably have like um, statistics that will make him in the 1 percentile individuals who could have their voice be a certain way. He's one of those. He's like Brandy. You know what I mean? Like certain people are entertainers who have the ability to keep a note. Some guys can sing, and then there's dudes like that who could probably hold their breath underwater longer than most. Like that kind of thing. Like he ain't normal. And so like when you know that, even though he didn't have the hits of Omarion necessarily, even though I could argue he probably had about as many. When you consider what his instrument is, and then you look at Omarion, you understand he was a studio artist. That's a group artist. He's a guy who did a lot of writing. He's a guy who did a lot of different. And see, that's the thing. Like when you follow music, you understand it ain't as simple as an artist, super talented, bring you music. Everybody has different things that they can do, different things that they come to the table with. Some guys can mix the music themselves. Some guys, all they can do is rap. Some guys can sing, harmonize. Other guys can contribute to the instrumental. There's so many different things, right? And I think Omarion's a guy who can contribute to a lot of different things to make a song come together. He's gonna write on the song. He's gonna sing on the song. He's gonna put together choreography. I don't know. That's Mario's gift. I think Mario's guy. They said, "Golly, I found this dude in Baltimore somewhere who could just sing in a way that most people can't. His voice carries in a way that most people can't. He has a harmony that comes together that's just unique to himself." There's a difference. There's a difference. There are people who have ridiculously great voices, and there are people who just provide fantastic presence. That maybe they're great on stage more so. So they're the guys that they're the star. See, it's a lot of different attributes. So when you put a guy like Omarion on stage who's a guy with stage presence and dancing and all that, and you put him next to a instrument, a vocal instrument, an actual vocal instrument, it's not gonna go well. And that's it's not gonna go well. You got to put him next to somebody with an instrument like his. Someone, or if they don't have an instrument like his, they got to have some special singing gift. You got to be able to identify who can do what and match them up with people who can do what it is that they do. You know, now far be it from me to start saying who could sing with Mario. I'm not gonna start throwing out names, stuff like that. But what I can say is I don't believe Mario was the right guy. Now, if you were gonna put their music together and let them both sit down and play music without performing it, probably get a different result. But if you're gonna have Mario go out there and sing, and you're gonna have him going up against a Mario who's not really a singer, the end. That's how that go. That is exactly how that goes. So I'm gonna watch the rest of it. I'm pretty sure it was a great performance all the way around. I heard there was a lot of funny stuff. So I think Versus has done some good things over the years, and so I thought this was one of the ones that would pique my interest just because they had so many different R&B acts from that particular era. So yeah, I encourage everybody who likes that kind of music to give that a look. I think you'll be amused. What else? This is a therapy session. I go on to something else. I think last night, like I said, the draft went on. I was very happy to be a part of my channel, having a channel on a night like that where there's so much to talk about. I haven't gotten to even a third of all of the different things that I'm sure will come to mind in regards to the teams drafting players and now forming a new identity for themselves because of it. Free agency is about to start up, so I'm gonna come at you with all kinds of content in that regard. And I don't think I'll go all the way into my thoughts in regards to that. I'll make videos for that. But I guess another thing I'm thinking about is just finances and stuff like that. I'm trying to invest in all of this stuff, and I'm listening to the wrong people telling me to put stuff here, and I'm going over here putting it there, and it's not doing what it's supposed to do, pulling it out of things it's supposed to be doing. I want it to be in, and the stuff that I put it into is not doing well, but the stuff that I took it out of is doing great. And that never happens when I when I stay put, you know what I mean? It just seems like for myself, I'm just not necessarily having the greatest luck in regards to different things that I'm trying to do investment wise right now. It just seems like I'm jumping out of good shit, jumping into bad shit, to be completely honest with you. And when I'm in the good shit, it's not doing any good. When I'm out of the stuff that I'm trying to jump into, it's like looking like it's gonna do great. And as soon as I get over there, it goes flat. It's almost like failure is chasing me. Literally when it comes to finance, it's just like, yo, did he put his money over there? Okay, flatten it. Did he get out? All right, now it's time to go back. I feel like the universe is actually doing that to me. So yeah, the level of frustration I wake up with this morning is a bit higher than usual because I'm not seeing the results of the changes that I made to my portfolio this week that I wanted to see. And the stuff I hopped out of is doing great. And that is a deflating feeling to no end because I've suffered that a lot in this life, a whole lot. And so it's just par for the course when you do things a certain way and you expect different results. Don't. You got to do things the right way. I think for me, it's trying to be a cowboy with everything I invested. That's why I'm not getting the results I want. It's not because the stuff I'm jumping into ain't working. It's because the way you jump into it doesn't work. And I like to do things the way I like to do them. And it gets to a point where you better start realizing that the way you like to do them just happens to be the way you shouldn't do it. So that's what I woke up feeling. Like I've done something the wrong way yet again, and I'm getting the results that come with that. So while I could be frustrated and say, oh my God, the world is coming down on me, I could also say, well, if you would have did this way, did that way, and not listened to that person and followed yourself, you get the results you're actually looking for. So I got yet another example of that. So I have to absorb the frustration of it. Doesn't feel good. Simple as that. One thing I can tell you is BDF 44 does not do well when he second guesses himself, unless it's basketball. Then whatever it is that I'm actually thinking probably should be the opposite, just because that's my luck. No different than the stuff I'm choosing in crypto. Just feel like my luck has been bad lately in regards to certain things, but just got to keep churning, man. Just got to keep churning and take the information that you get from what you've learned and apply it to what it is you can later on. That's all we can do. So yeah, moving on from that. Since we're talking about situations with money, T-Mobile is doing a lot of weird stuff. Doing a lot of weird stuff with me right now, man. I told them that I wanted them to split a bill in half, that they charged me for the entire amount. So that's another thing. I woke up in the morning looking at that like, are you serious? They're supposed to split that in half over the next several days. So I don't know, man. I just feel like you just wake up on the wrong side of the bed when you see certain things, certain numbers ain't falling into place for you. That's literally it. I'm very blessed to wake up in the morning, and I felt like if I didn't turn on the camera and get these words out, I'd probably just start the day off wrong. You know what I mean? I think that's the beauty of what it is I'm trying to create here, this therapy session thing. These are the days I get out of bed and I'm irritated before I really start, and everything I do is irritated, and I'm walking around just not in the best mental health space because of the frustration of what I first think when I wake out of bed. In the past, it would control my day, maybe even bleed into my night. I don't want that to be the case. I'm trying to get to a point where when I start feeling them negative feelings and I can start seeing myself going down that path, especially when accountability is not necessarily trying to creep in as early. It's more so about the luck and not in the results, and not necessarily the path and the practices. Then I'm already setting myself up for worse than what the situation should entail. You see what I'm saying? Turning on this camera make me say, you know what, it ain't just your luck. It's also your practice. It's also how you did it. It's also not wanting to change the ways you're doing things, etc. So I think that's the beauty, or rather the fruit, I guess is what I'm saying, from what it is I'm trying to do here. As I said, you do things the same way, you're going to get the same results. This is me trying to do things differently than I did when I was younger. Starting my day off wrong and letting it start the process of everything going bad after that. So hopefully this can help with that. So yeah, man, just, I don't know. It's just like anything else. When you wake up in the morning, you're very, very reactive to whatever the first thing you have on your mind is. You look at your phone and you absorb that, and then it's just like, you know what? The last time I decided to not flow in the direction that the energy would take me, it worked out for me, I guess is what I'm saying to you. And what I mean by flow in the direction the energy would take me, that means not turning on the camera and just letting the day play out as I felt waking up. Last time I didn't do that. Last time I tried something that I felt would help, it did. So that's what I'm hopeful I can do here. You know, looking at all my different things that I was looking at this morning, there's also a lot of good things to look at. You know what I mean? It's also a lot of wonderful things. I still have a life where, you know, the choices that I've made have resulted in the environment that I've created for myself. It may not be enough for most. Hell, it may not be enough for me. But I think what I was trying to effectively keep out of my life, I've done a good job of keeping out of my life. Now, what comes with that? What is the other cost to that? Because I don't get to just relax and create this environment for myself without it being something that has to be given in order for that to be the case. And I think the results of that is the mediocrity that I allow myself to live in. You know what I mean? If I attack my mental health a little harder, if I go a little, you know, more so into the red as it pertains to my mental health and start doing things that aren't as comfortable to me, maybe I'll start getting the results that come with harder work. Or maybe I get the results that come with more secure financial situations and circumstances. I don't think there's a maybe at all. I think that's a definite, but I think for me it's like I've created the ability to live alone for a little while, stay home and be like this, and I've sacrificed it. This is what comes with it. You're going to wake up certain days, you're not going to have as much. You're going to wake up certain days because you're trying to do things to try to get money real fast. The money ain't going to come fast. The world doesn't allow you to do that. I think that's why it's so important to come to the world of acceptance. When you realize that you're in a world, and this is where I've been struggling for the last year and a half, or year rather. This is since I've quit my job. This is really where I've struggled. Just because you perceive everything to be not everything. Just because you perceive going to work as a thing that you do that doesn't provide you the value that you deserve, That's the thought. Just because of that does not mean that you should not work, or that you should not give yourself an opportunity to not suffer. And I think that that's where I've struggled, because I don't want to go back to work, because I do perceive me going to work in any capacity, working for anyone, asking for a check, doing anything asked to do, is me acquiescing to a system in the world that is meant for me to deteriorate, not get the value I'm supposed to receive, not send the money in places that's going to actually help me, and ultimately just pass away. That's how I look at work. I look at work like that for all of us. If we're not doing something that we love to do, if we didn't create the job ourselves and create the jobs for our loved ones through our businesses, then wherever employer you're getting your money from, they're being cheated. That's how I perceive the world. It's not that your employer is necessarily cheating you. Who knows? Maybe not. Probably not. But where they're getting their money from, they're being cheated. And ever since I got involved in this AMC thing, this stock market thing, that has been the thought in my head, that I am cheating myself every time I clock into any job of any kind. But the problem is, I'm also cheating myself by not going to work and giving myself an opportunity to pay my bills, because the anxiety that comes and the realities that come with not taking care of your situation, that's not a good give and take for what it is I'm weighing at all. Hasn't been, it never was. It just felt better to me because of the mindset and the mentality that I've always had my entire life, as to which if something is something bad, or if it's something that I reject, or if it's something I don't want to do, then the consequences are not to be considered. Only the fact that it ain't gonna be done. And that's how my mind has worked against me my entire life. As you guys know, I haven't been able to override that at all in most of the circumstances in my life, unless forced to. When I was a child, it was school, as you guys may have heard. I rejected the notion of school and homework entirely as a child. It got to a point where I had a couple of traumatic experiences. I attached those experiences to school somehow. I equated having to go to school as having to risk going back and experiencing those traumas, and I rejected it entirely. And the notion that it was unwise to not get an education was futile, because I knew that if I went and got an education, I would be dealing with what it is in my mental health refused to, I guess. But what it is that my mind and my soul and my spirit would reject was not to be overridden. That's kind of how that worked. The brain wouldn't let me say, you know what, it makes more sense to do this, so let's do it. And I'm kind of dealing with that now as it pertains to going back out there to work. Even though I know I need to, my brain is not allowing me to, like literally. Like the moment I start thinking about doing so, I start getting deep anxiety feelings, sadness, the shakes, like literally, like not the shakes, but it could get to that point. I think I perceive it being that bad in terms of my nerves once I start thinking about going back out there doing that. And that's how I was feeling when I was doing it. In the last couple of months of working, hated it every day of my life. I hated it. And as you guys know, I documented all of that. You can go back and look at those videos from about a year ago. I hated my job so much. But it wasn't just the job I hated. It was the notion that I had to keep going back to a place where I couldn't be myself, where I couldn't turn on the camera at any given moment and talk to you guys about whatever came to mind basketball-wise. That I couldn't do my playlist at any given moment. If for some reason I felt compelled to do something artistically, I couldn't do it. And in my mind, that's unacceptable, because I'm weighing that against the equity of time. So anytime one of these people come up to me asking me to go do something of any kind, and I didn't have it in my heart to do it, I hated the notion that I was compelling myself to do those things. Go over there, walk this person over there, please go to the bathroom and stand there for 15 minutes while we make sure no one comes in so we can get the homeless person out. Please, all these different tasks that were perfectly fine for the job, they ate away at my ability to make choices for myself within the hours that I had in those places. Now, why that's such a problem for me, I don't know, because literally all humans have to go through that. But for me, it was just like, you know what, this is like me pulling teeth out of my mouth every day, once an hour. You know, that's how it felt for me mentally, to a degree. To a degree. Or at least I perceive it that way right now as I look back on it. But either way, it was such a stressful moment, or stressful time, till it got to a point where it was too much for me. I walked away from it. And with the opportunity that I had with the investments and things that I thought were possible, I just assumed myself retired. No different than I, graduated from school when I decided I was done. I didn't wait for a ceremony to tell me I was done with school. I realized I wasn't going back, and I wasn't going to spend any more of my time equity in that place. Not for reasons you told me to, not for reasons I was supposed to, not for reasons that made sense, not for reasons that didn't. I wasn't going back. And that's the crux of my mental illness. That's exactly what it is, man. It's the ability to see things make sense and not do them. It's the ability to see things be the right choice and be the choice that'll help you receive the less stress, and still would choose not to take that choice for the perception of the stress that you already feel from the notion that you'd even approach the choice that feels more stressful. These are the things that you deal with when you have whatever it is that I deal with. And so while it's really, really cool that I can get in this camera and make a lot of sense talking basketball and get in this camera and motivate in whatever ways that I may be able to, at the end of the day, my brain, it's powerful in a way that is not good for me. It's powerful in a way that when I'm determined to do something, even I can't stop me. Which is that's not good. That's terrible. That's not balanced. And it's not something that I think I'm gonna be able to get through on my own. I think that what works for me, what's fortunate for me, is the ethics that I have, the respect that I have for life, the respect that I have for others, the respect that I have for my mother's legacy and how she raised me, the legitimate fear that she put in my heart for her as a child that made it so that I'd listen to what she said, so that I wouldn't deviate from it when I got strong enough as a man to do things differently. Those things are still there, keeping me very much where I need to be. It keeps me where I need to be. For without those norms, this trait is a problem. It is a big problem. Because at the end of the day, when it's not attached to the right practices, and you start floating yourself toward different things that keep you from being stressed, you automatically coerce yourself toward being stressed. Now, if I have the right practices worked in my head for whatever it is I'm doing, then I'm automatically going to be fine, because those practices are norms, and those norms will allow me to do things properly, right? I hope you're following me. In other words, I'm never going to have a problem showering twice a day. I'm never going to have a problem brushing my teeth. I'm never going to have a problem doing those things because they're already worked into the equation by way of practice. But certain things, if they ain't worked into my equation already, and I have to start the process of starting that building today, I got to first identify what those things are. And when you're alone, it's hard to identify what those things are. See? So, that's also a struggle for me. It's like, what needs to be changed? Well, even though there are obviously things in here that you would be able to see that need to be changed, for me, it's just one continuous long-term situation that's never changed. So that normalcy makes it so that things that may be awry may not look awry to me. And see, that's the problem also with isolation and choosing to be alone. You don't have that second input to tell you, hey, maybe you shouldn't put your money there. Maybe you shouldn't listen to that person. Maybe you should wait a couple of hours before trying what it is you're trying to do. Give it some more thought. That advice I refuse by not allowing people around me, by not allowing people to talk to me without really even being a human in some ways as it pertains to others. I just sit in my little space. I keep my phone in my hand. I do what I do in regards to my interests. I pray to my God, and I stay in my routine. And I wait for this damn thing to squeeze. And if it gives me enough money in that process, and I don't ever have to work again, then I'll just keep doing what I'm doing till the Lord stops in my heart, and I will be happy about that. And I'll be perfectly happy about that. Because all of the different things that I love to do will occupy all of my time if I'm just allowed to do them. My channel, my art, my playlist. It's not like I'm sitting in this house scratching myself. I got a whole factory in my head. You know what I mean? I'm a producer. I produce. It's just I don't have what I need to make this make sense, to make what I actually am for be of value. You know what I mean? That's the truth. It's the truth. So I just stay in my little norms. I stay in my little struggles. I give you all my strengths, and I just wait for one thing or another to happen, either the worst of it or the best of it, man. And after a whole year of doing this, I can honestly say, without a shadow of a doubt, that this should not have been possible. That's what I'm here to say on top of all of that. In the midst of all of the decisions that I've made and the struggles that I've had here, and all of the bad luck that I've told you about in this camera, it pales in comparison to the miracles that have aligned so that I could not be homeless right now. Just miracles, man. Stuff that ain't even supposed to be possible. They happened a couple times so that I could be in this camera today with my cell phone paid and still in this apartment and still have, my investments intact, even though they're not maturing like they should be during this crypto market. They exist. They haven't been sold out. I haven't been depleted of my what I have, and that's not how this goes. If you look at how my life has been for the last 2 years, you look at what I did and you look at where I'm at, the numbers don't add up. It don't make no sense. I'm honestly here to tell you it doesn't make any sense. I should not have been able to survive this long this way. So because that is in place, and the nature of the divine, of whom I feel compelled me to start this process anyway, if you follow my channel, you understand what I'm saying is a little crazy, but it's exactly how it went. I was compelled by feelings and emotions of stress and desire to stop working, and prayers were essentially telling me to stop, to just stop, and to get in here, to get into this house and wait. And I obeyed that. I obeyed that against all logic. And I'm still doing it. And I think it's a good chance. It's a product of my mental health being poor. It's an excuse for me to stay away from the world and hide. Part of me thinks it's not. Part of me thinks I'm on some Moses mission. And I'm sitting at the top of the mountain waiting for the Lord to burn all the trees and start talking. Like, I kind of feel like I'm on some type of weird spiritual mission to where I'm being compelled to do something that doesn't make sense in the world, like the physical world. If you're to do this, if you're to follow what I'm doing, you're going to find yourself homeless. But because I felt compelled to do it spiritually, even though it's brought me nothing but pain and nothing but frustration, because I was compelled to do it spiritually, somehow I didn't run out of money doing this. That's the point. That's the point. I should have ran out of money 3-4 times over, people. I shouldn't have a penny. Stuff was getting paid that I wasn't paying for in ways that I don't understand. Money kept replenishing in places where the money shouldn't kept coming. Is what I'm telling you. I'd pick from it, come back, still be enough to pick from it again. You keep picking from it and it keeps replenishing. It's like manna. It's one of those situations where I'm perfectly fine with telling everybody that this could be a byproduct of my mental health issue. This could 100% be my head wigging out, all that. But I can't tell you how it worked. That's why I'm tripping. That's why I'm tripping. A crazy person can do a crazy thing. Should they not get the results that come from doing that crazy thing? I didn't get the results that came doing that crazy thing. That's what I'm here to say. It's still working. I don't know how. I don't know. But I know God compelled me, or my brain told me God compelled me to sit my butt here and wait for this thing. I've done a bunch of things in this house over the last year that have helped me find myself. I turned into an entire visual artist, and I wasn't doing no art last time I was out doing work. I found myself in this house. But it's like none of it should have happened, should have been possible, rather. And I think in my head, I feel that if God didn't tell me to do this and I just tried to do this, it would have failed after 4 months. 4 months in, I'd have been in trouble. Homeless, without food, without an investment account. It'd have been done. It is about 13 months later. I got more shares of AMC than I had when I quit my job. I don't know how that is. I know my grandfather helped me out a lot. Don't get it twisted. That is why that is. But that money that he gave me should have been gone. The money I had before that should have been gone. You tell me. I get the part where everything I did was crazy. I don't get the part of how it worked out. My name is BDF 44. Thank God. I'm out.